Originally, I had not watched The Wire when it was on HBO, and a few people I know who are very savvy they're very savvy about entertainment. They kept saying, "You need to watch the show. You need to watch the show." And I kept thinking, "Oh, I'm sure that it's good, and I'll get to that." But it took me a while. And when I finally did, I was so inspired by it that at first I thought about doing one of the books that's in the series Pop Culture and Philosophy. So you'll see like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and philosophy, or Monty Python and philosophy. So I thought about doing one of those, and actually there now is a book like that, but I wound up creating the class as an alternative because I just wanted to help bring it more to Susquehanna as a way for our students here to get access to that kind of permanent underclass side of the community in Baltimore, right? That's the whole point of the show, is to help the viewers understand that what many of us experience as our opportunities and what life is like in America is so wildly different from what David Simon likes to call the other America, this permanent underclass that just, is living in a way that most of us don't know about, and that community is so isolated, most of us don't really get access to knowing that community is there or what their experiences are like. And so I think that the show does such a nice job of helping the viewer have access to that hidden world, and so I thought it would be a great class to bring to Susquehanna. So when I created The Wire class, it was actually the very first philosophy class in the United States to be about The Wire, and it was created at a similar time as many other very prestigious universities were having a class on The Wire, but in other departments besides philosophy, either in like sociology or film. So our Wire class here at Susquehanna was created among the very first in the nation in any discipline, and it was the very first in a philosophy department, which is really exciting. It was really important to me to make the whatever class I was going to do on The Wire have some connection to academic theory. And so there were actually a lot of different possibilities, because a lot of different philosophical theories, including especially things about Marx, would play so nicely with the themes that are in The Wire. But I decided to choose what was more in my area of expertise, namely Plato's ethical theory, virtue ethics, and to make connections between the kinds of characters that are in The Wire and Plato's theory. Because one of the things that's really different about The Wire from other so-called like cop shows is that most cop shows tend to depict good guys versus bad guys. And in The Wire, there's a real nuanced position about assessing people and seeing that both their virtues and their vices, because most of us, in fact, have both. Most of us are not purely good or purely bad. So that's one of the things I like to draw out in the show, is Plato's way of assessing a human being through looking at what virtues or vices they have. How wise are they? How courageous are they? How just are they? How moderate are they? And thinking of people that way. The other thing that's really important to Plato in terms of virtue is looking at not just an individual person, but the whole community, and seeing how the different sectors of the community, how do they interact, what attitudes should they have toward each other, all in terms of the question of like, will there be peace in this community? Will there be justice in this community? So I use a lot of that kind of theory in Plato, both about the individual virtues as well as the community's shared projects like survival and health, and justice and peace, to try to look at what's going on in The Wire. And it's really interesting to me how David Simon himself refers to The Wire as like a contemporary version of a Greek tragedy. And even though Plato, of course, is not a tragedian, he's a philosopher, but I see so much of his philosophy in The Wire, such that one of the students who took the class a few years ago actually asked me if I thought David Simon based it on The Wire, and I don't think he did, but I thought it was adorable that somebody could see so much similarity between the two to actually think that. For me, the main thing I hope students get out of it is two things. One, as I said a minute ago, like the recognition of some of American cities' gravest problems, because whether you live in American cities or in suburbs or rural areas, this is our country and we're all in it together. And so I want, on one hand, students to have a more solid understanding of the concerns to urban people, especially low income and people of color who are living in urban places. But secondly, and even more importantly, is I want our students to realize the opportunities they have to work on those kind of problems. So when we have students graduate, they go off to grad school and all sorts of wonderful jobs. And I often think that what's more important than thinking, what am I going to be, as in like what career will I get into, that we should think more about like what problems can I help solve. because that's exactly what a liberal arts education sets you up to do, is to think things through in a really well-rounded way and to use your analytical reasoning skills and your communication skills and your connections and your interest in service and so on to be a problem solver. So I would love for our students, whether they're going on in education or the media like yourself, or in law or medicine or public health or not-for-profit work or big business, whatever people are doing, there's a way that if you know about the gravest problems facing modern American cities, that you can be a part of that solution. And I think, especially given how many of our students move on to live in cities, we want to remember cities like Baltimore and other seemingly broken, seemingly disposable cities like Detroit or Cincinnati, or Flint, Michigan, and remember that not every city is as well off as many of the cities you guys moved to, or like where I'm from, the New York City area. Though all cities have their challenges, but some cities have them even more, and that's a big part of why David Simon chose his native city, Baltimore, to set the series in, because it's a city that has a special set of challenges, and that's exactly what people who lead lives of leadership, achievement, and service can do, is to help meet those grave challenges that a modern American city faces.